Welcome everybody to episode 3 of the Vermintide 2 Career Showcase, where I try to explain in as educational and entertaining a way as possible how to accurately play each and every career in Vermintide 2 as effectively as possible. In today's episode, we'll be talking Bounty Hunter, and oh boy is he quite the fellow to make a video about. Bounty Hunters add an element to the series that I haven't really went into too much detail about yet, that being emphasis on ranged weaponry instead of melee. Other than that, the flow of information, quirky music, and talking points will mostly remain familiar, thank God. So, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed today's presentation. I plan on making an episode for every career in the game, so stay tuned for episode 4. Thank you all for watching, and enjoy the video. One of the talking points I wanted to bring up in today's video is the concept of positioning yourself in respect to your team. It's no shock that the Bounty Hunter isn't exactly a frontline career like a Mercenary or an Ironbreaker. He has precision swings that you can take great advantage of, but not the damage output that can maintain hordes all by themselves. So if you find yourself in a situation where you have to fight a horde alone, just don't. Either don't overcommit to the fight or just relocate to your team. You'll have a much easier time that way. Now don't get me wrong, in an ideal situation, during a horde, you do still want to contribute when you have the opportunities, but your priorities should be a little different. You should always be scanning the environment for elites, specials, or anything that isn't a regular enemy. Being one of the best ranged careers in the game, you can easily find a window to switch over to your ranged weapon and off them. And this is where your positioning plays the key role. You fight the horde, always sticking close to your team, never overcommitting, and the moment you see a tougher foe coming your way, you back up from the front lines, switch to your ranged gun, and boom! They're as good as dead. Certain ranged weapons do this better than others, which I'll get to later. But what makes a Bounty Hunter so great at range? Well, I'll start by mentioning that he can hold 50% more ammo. That always helps. But that's not even the biggest tool in the Bounty Hunter's arsenal. That belongs to the passive, Blessed Shots, which gives him guaranteed ranged critical hits every 10 seconds. Yep. You heard me right. So not only does he have 50% more ammo, but that ammo can be used more loosely and can serve more purposes. Whether it's doing more damage, replenishing your ult, or ammo management, he also reloads 15% faster. Yeah, that's not as notable as the other buffs Bounty Hunter gets. Similarly to the Mercenary, the Bounty Hunter can build off of their abilities and passives through their talent pool. But before I get into that, I need to bring up his ult. And if you saw the intro, you'll know exactly what it does. AKA, it deletes a large chunk of health off of elites and monsters. I'm gonna be straight with you. You use this ult for elites and monsters. It is not meant for hordes. I cannot stress that enough. Alright, now back to the building off his passives and abilities thing. So when it comes to the Bounty Hunter's talent pool, I'd say it's overall more entertaining and helpful on improving his abilities than, say, the Ironbreakers. No offense to Barton, he's just kind of already overpowered before his talent pool comes into play. So how about we just knock out all the talents while we're doing this? Bounty Hunters should do their best to never overcommit to melee battles by sticking close to their team and picking off elites and specials when possible. But we all know taking damage is just a part of the game, so inevitably we're gonna have to discuss how the Bounty Hunter can maintain his limited health pool. And to be honest, he actually gets some cool options. Take Blood for Money as an example. As I already mentioned, Bounty Hunters have attack patterns that emphasize and reward precision swings. Blood for Money takes advantage of those precision swings that allow you to have an easier time scoring headshots. And critical swings are just butter. You can squeeze more HP out of enemies and you don't have to kill them for credit, unlike Tith Taker, a talent that rewards you for dealing finishing blows all the way up to monsters, supplying you health based on the health of your foe. I'd say this talent is better with weapons that deal good damage, and especially if it has good headshots. I'm beginning to see the problem here. Honestly, these two talents just come down to preference. I like Blood for Money because I can't reliably deal the final blow to all my foes, and it rewards me during hordes. And depending on the weapon you use, scoring headshots can be trivially easy. And like all the other careers I've talked about so far, the third option is just not worth the time discussing. Moving on to the second talent set, you have some less notable options. You have Steel Crescendo that gives the bounty hunter options when he runs out of ammo, which honestly is the last possible thing you want to do as a bounty hunter. It goes without saying that if you, as a ranged career, run out of ammo, while also not even being average at melee combat, you aren't doing yourself any favors. After that, you have Open Wounds, which really only comes into play when you get a crit on an elite or monster. And the third one, Weight of Fire, really is only noticeable when it comes to damage fall off. The increased ranged power doesn't really significantly change anything. If it took 2 shots to kill something before, it still takes 2 shots after. Maybe aside from the volley crossbow. The problem with this talent set is that if you're not using a weapon that has a magazine of 8 or higher, you don't really get any help from the second talent set. Strangely enough, however, you might get some from the third. Honestly, when it comes to the third talent set, any 3 of these work fine, but 2 work more than others. That of course being Smitter and Assassin. I'd really only use enhanced power if you're not using the rapier. Even then, I wouldn't bother with it. Starting with Smitter, imagine using the rapier's charged attack and having it always stagger elites and specials every time you use it. Or maybe it doesn't. I don't know how this talent works. And Assassin takes advantage of your precision attacks to more consistently and easily deal 40% more damage to enemies. Honestly, I'm leaning towards Assassin if I'm being honest. Up next is talent set number 4. Prize Bounty is a good talent, but the problem with it is that it makes ammo management too easy. The goal as a bounty hunter is to find the happy medium, where it's just easy enough to effectively manage your ammo, whilst not ever making it too easy to manage your guns, so your guns in turn perform more effectively. Cruel Fortune is the most consistent and reliable of the 3, increasing Blessed Shot's recharge rate by 40%. Very useful. But let me pitch an idea to you. What if I could tell you, there's another talent out there that lets you control, assuming there's an enemy nearby, when you get your blessed shots back instead of waiting 6 seconds. And if that's not enough to convince you, we'll throw in an extra 15% melee and range damage whenever you hit something. Honestly, both of them are good. I run with Blessed Combat, just a matter of preference really. Moving on to the 5th talent set, you have Rile the Mob, which dares you to support your allies by killing elites and specials. My issues with this talent is that 10% for 10 seconds isn't all that noticeable, and support isn't really what Bounty Hunter's all about. He is a range-based big damage career. That and the other options are better. Like literally, both of them are better. Okay, so remember earlier when I mentioned the talent that restores blessed shots when you get a melee kill? What if I told you there's a talent that also auto-reloads your gun when you get a melee kill? I know, crazy right? Even if it's just 1 ammunition and not an entire magazine. That's insane. The first line of text is useless anyways, but still! And then you have Job Well Done that rewards you by just doing what you're supposed to be doing anyway as Bounty Hunter, aka killing elites and specials. It's a very tough call, but if it were up to me, I'd go with Job Well Done. That 30% damage reduction increases your effective health up to 156, a much needed buff to his health bar. I may be good at Bounty Hunter, but I ain't that good. The 6th talent set is interesting in that there are 3 different ways you can use your ult. The first option gives you your ult more often, but dials down the damage output a bit. The second option rewards you for proper aim, and the third one makes your ult a bit more versatile in what you use it for. Hordes, elites, monsters, etc. So which one would I go for? Ah, who am I kidding? You know which one it is. It's double-shotted. I want to save his melees for last and focus on the new concept of this video, aka the emphasis on ranged weapons thing I was talking about earlier. I devised a different way to talk about Victor's guns, and I'm going to do so by going through a short list of qualities his ranged weapons have, and rank them from best to worst. Of course, only so much context can be provided by ranking, so additional commentary will be required, so I'll fill those holes in where necessary. Let's begin. So let's begin with arguably the most important quality, damage. You can feel free to disagree with some of these rankings, and as I said, I'll provide commentary as to why I rank these weapons where I do. I've got, in order from highest to lowest, the crossbow, the volley, the pistols, and the repeater. You can say that the volley has the most versatile damage output with its scoped attacks, but shot per shot, the crossbow is in a league of its own. It really starts getting unreliable once you get to the repeater. Critical ranged hits with the repeater don't kill, so you're going to be expending more ammo on your foes in order to kill them, making ammo management all that harder. And speaking of, damage and ammo management have a direct relationship with each other. The less ammo you have to spend on killing enemies, the less ammo you burn through. That much easier it is to manage it. Crossbows do by far the best job at that. Volley crossbows aren't that bad either though. The excellent single fire or multi-fire damage means you won't be using up too much ammo, and whenever you need to get some, you just multi-shot some poor Skaven rat to get 6 shots automatically. See what I mean? Versatile. The brace pistols are the last truly manageable gun. I find myself getting a little more conservative with how I spend my ammo when using it. If it's not mandatory to kill an elite or special, I wouldn't take that shot as often. And as before, the repeater is last on this list. Range. The ability to hit things from afar, plain and simple. And what do you know, the crossbow is number 1. You could switch the volley and pistols, honestly. I'd say they're tied for second. In fact, I might give the pistols a slight edge since the volley is so bulky. And oh my god, the repeater is last again. Reload. And when I say reload, I mean an entire magazine. With that criteria, it's no shock that the crossbow is number 1, followed by, the repeater. The volley comes in at a distant third, and the brace at 4. I'm gonna be honest, this quality is deceiving. The brace pistols reloads a fraction of the magazine, and can do so faster than the volley, as the volley reloads the entire clip. I feel I need to clarify that. Penetration. I put the volley and crossbow tied for first here. You can switch them if you like. Like I've been saying, versatility. The volley can multi-shot enemies, hitting in upwards of like 6 enemies at a time. Meanwhile, I think the crossbow can hit 3 to 4 in one shot. The brace can do about 1 to 2, and the repeater, once again, can't do squat. Control. The ability to remain accurate upon taking damage. And guess what? Finally, the crossbow isn't number 1. That belongs to all of the bounty hunters' other ranged weapons. They can mostly maintain their accuracy after taking damage, unlike the crossbow. Take note, my friends. Each weapon has its drawbacks, only in this case you're rewarded for using the crossbow without taking damage. A rather creative way of nerfing the crossbow, if I do say so myself. And lastly, combo value. How worth it is it to, with less shots, fire your gun, get a kill, and reload again in rapid succession? And who could have guessed the weapons with the most penetration and damage take the top 2 spots, followed by a distant third and fourth, brace pistol and repeater pistol. I have the volley at number 1 since you can get up to 6 arrows back and can do so 4 times over with less combat before having to reload. The crossbow is second since it only fires 1 arrow, but has quite the notable penetration value. It becomes a lot less worth it when you bring in the brace pistols, and even worse when using the repeater. So, with all 7 qualities on the table, it's time for the scores. Shockingly, the volley crossbow and crossbow are tied for first with 12 points apiece. The brace pistols are third with an overall score of 19. These 3 weapons are the ones I believe you can find great success with. It's the repeater pistol that isn't worth using, with a score of 23 points. The worst score you could get was a 28. And since we have a tiebreaker, I suppose it's only fair to break the tie. And it goes to the crossbow. The volley's versatility made it a tough out, but its reload speed and somewhat ammo spending is what breaks the tie. The crossbow's damage is just too good. I don't like the fact that I have to click 3 times to kill a mauler. And if I miss even once, I have to spend 4 bullets. But with all that said, the volley crossbow gets a very honorable second place. It put up a great fight. Well played, volley. Well played. And with that, all that remains are the melees. I tried to keep this relatively short and sweet, but it proved to be more challenging than I expected. At this point, it's just what it is, and I'm not going to try and slim it down any, so here we go. I hate it. I actually hate it. Saltzpyre's melee weapons are already limited, but the ones that cleave are even further reduced. Look, I get it. The bounty hunter isn't a melee career, but I mean, come on! It can't even cleave through 1 enemy? Then what the f am I supposed to do against a horde? Even with Swift Sling, this weapon is about as fast as going through a drive-thru at Raising Cane's. Not that I speak from experience or anything. 2 things before I start. 1, I was able to go through an entire mission with the greatsword, so it isn't unusable like the axe. 2, this weapon has the greatest amount of space to grow, which I also like. Now with the greatsword, you need to know well what it can do and what it can't do, what it excels at and what it fails at. It can cleave through multiple enemies while also being just slow enough to make you hesitate your follow-ups. It does pretty okay damage, but doesn't stagger well. It can break shields while not being the best option going against multiple enemies at a time. But with all that said, if you take it slow and stick to your team and learn its limits, you can find success using the greatsword. Same premise, different weapon. Can do, can't do or do not, there is no try. The Falcon can break shields, it has good mobile combat, its pushback is pretty good, attack speed, stamina, even overall damage. The cleave, however, is something else. It doesn't cleave through a lot, but not a little either. In practice, I was able to get through an entire mission barely. I won barely. You could say that I won in spite of the fact that I was using the Falcon. If you put a gun to my face and forced me to choose between the Falcon or the greatsword, I'd pick the greatsword. How's that? I actually like the flail. It's pretty self-evident at this point that I like weapons that cleave. The flail does that and more. I like its charged attack better than its regular, especially since you can fight with high mobility whilst doing so. Swift Sling is not necessary for this weapon, so feel free to use that trait for something else. A good combo is a charged attack followed by a push and a brief backpedal to prepare for your next swing. Great weapon, would use again. This segment should just be renamed to Knowing Your Melee Limitations because once again, we have another weapon that does some things well and some things poorly, specifically the cleave. But that's just Victor in a nutshell, really. I like the wide swings in particular, though. The swings themselves can feel unconventional, gotta aim a little lower than you're used to when fighting Skaven, and you gotta play cautiously when fighting Chaos. Oh, and one last note, for whatever reason, this weapon chews through stamina. Like, it actually hurts how much stamina the Axe and Falcon goes through when you get hit by one enemy. Apparently I saved the best for last because here we go again with another weapon I can actually tolerate. The cleave is amazing. High mobility during combat can leave a lot to be desired, but still, good weapon. Good headshot damage, good damage in general, really. Stamina maintenance will be a little tricky. Gotta make sure you don't overestimate the bill hook, but I like it just as much as the flail. Very nice. Alright, now for the weapon I use normally. What can you really say about the rapier that hasn't already been said? Fast attacks, infinite cleave, precision-defined attacks, and dumbed-down attack patterns all meshed into one perfectly balanced meal. Not exactly loaded with calories, if you know what I mean, but the nutrients that come with the rapier are top of their class. And on another note, the switch mechanics for the rapier are arguably the best of all of his melees. This is one weapon I can say with zero hesitation that can handle best in tight situations. Next to or away from your team, you name it. And that's why it's the best. It is the weapon to use for Bounty Hunter. It defines him. The fact that it doesn't do a ton of damage just backs up what the Bounty Hunter is about. To me, all the other weapons are trying to be things they aren't. There's no mystery with the rapier. You know what it can do and what it can't. What it does and what it doesn't. And that's what makes the rapier the Bounty Hunter's greatest option. Would it be unfair to say that Bounty Hunter is the best range career in the game? I don't know. To be honest, I'm more of a melee guy myself instead of range. That's why it's such a surprise to me when I tried out Bounty Hunter. I thought I was going to hate it, but I didn't hate it. Maybe I like him because his ammo management capabilities are stupidly high. Maybe it's how complete of a range career he is. It's not enough that he can summon crits every few seconds, but he can also crush elites and monsters with the press of a button. I was genuinely blown away by how much fun I had with the Bounty Hunter, and I can guarantee you will too. And with that, the video's over. Thus concludes episode 3 of the Vermintide 2 Career Showcase series, where I try to explain in as educational and entertaining a way as possible how to accurately play each and every career in Vermintide 2 as effectively as possible. Thanks for watching, and stick around for episode 4. Until then...